Are you ready, sir?
Yes. Welcome to this week's
Special edition of Free Basketball.
the draft preview,
Oh,
where we
make the picks.
incredibly early try to decide where people are going to go in the draft. We still got a month to go. We haven't even made it to the NBA Finals yet.
This is how prepared we are.
We're
doing this a month out.
We really wanted to do this, so here we are.
There were some
There were some scheduling conflicts, but we persevered and showed up. So
happy Saturday,
happy
everybody!
Saturday
right before Memorial Day.
Yeah,
Should we even tell them how far away it was?
Yeah, don't even worry about it, guys. It's not the Saturday before Memorial Day at all. So, welcome to Free Basketball. This is where we talk about basketball.
You finally get to put a face to the voices if you don't know us, but I would assume most people know us.
You can see our bodies. They're supple.
So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go in reverse order, 30 to 15, and then we're going to go the lottery 14 to 1. So maybe it'll be a little bit of suspense build for you guys.
Hopefully,
instead of just seeing who we think the first pick is, you've got to wait 29 picks.
Exactly.
So suck it.
Exactly. But by the time we get to the second pick, you will know who the first pick is. And if you haven't figured it out by then you need to watch more than just this podcast. You need to watch a basketball game.
So we're going to do a couple different things. Mainly we're going to make the picks that we think the Hawks or like Nets, Warriors, who they're going to pick. They may not essentially be who we think they should pick.
Right.
But we're going to kind of talk about a little about each team and the player. So we'll do a little bit of team evaluation on what they need. So this isn't going to be a lengthy team by team talking 10 minutes for each team. Because the Hawks have 3 first-round draft picks, which honestly they'll probably trade 1 or 2 if I had to guess. So there's going to be a lot of movement, I believe, on draft night, which as we already said is a month away. Do you think this could be one of those drafts where there's a lot of foreign players that could be drafted first round, draft and stash, or a lot of trades, or how do you feel about this draft coming up to it?
I think this draft could move around all over the place. There could be lots of you get a lot of teams with multiple picks. You know, they might try to trade those to try to get some veteran players or something like that.
Sure.
This is a thing that is said this is going to be a crazy draft. Like if you turn it on ESPN or anything like that, every year they would have you believe that like the picks that we see as they are now, all 30 of them will be different.
Sure.
In the middle of the draft, somehow the whole thing's going to rearrange itself. They always make it seem like this is going to be a crazy summer between the draft and the free agency. And so I think that probably what's going to happen is the Suns are going to pick at number 1, and then it's going to kind of follow suit, and there might be a couple. There's probably going to be like 2 trades in there.
I feel like the Suns are probably even open to trading a little bit.
Probably, but I just don't think...
You could trade down to 3, swap, maybe get a player, and still take a power forward center that they want, you know?
I just don't think any of those teams in that, like, really in the top, like, I don't know, really in the top 9 spots are teams that, like, wheel and deal for picks.
That's true.
They just seem like teams that are going to stand pat with the picks they got.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know everyone is kind of excited for this being a big man draft, but to me it's one of the weaker drafts. And if you just kind of watched recent history, the strong drafts have been drafts where it's been more guards.
Right.
And there's just kind of a void of really good guards in this draft. So the fact that there's a potential 5 or 6 big men picked in the top 10 tells me all I need to know about this draft. Because, I mean, if you've watched the NBA, big men aren't that essential anymore. I mean, if you have a transformative one, that's
you still need rim protection, but you need someone who can also like space the floor and shoot now.
Yeah,
too.
But it's kind of like you can find a Clint Capella in the late 20s in the second round to do the same thing instead of using a pick on the top 3.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a draft to me where it's not like last year where you can find a franchise guy in the first 14 picks. there might be 2 or 3 guys, and there's always a sleeper, in the second round or late first that surprises. But I don't see too many franchise players coming out of this draft, like superstars. There'll be a handful, there'll be all-stars, but I don't see this being a fantastic draft. So I'm actually more on the side that teams should trade for veteran pieces now.
Yeah.
But this could be, I think it'll be an interesting night. I think there'll be a lot of teams trying to move pieces.
A lot of movers and shakers.
Like yep. Well, do you want to jump straight into the 30th pick?
Sure.
So
let's talk about it.
Obviously, is the Hawks. For me, the Hawks, they need a little bit of everything right now.
Yeah, they could literally pick anybody and it would be fine. Like they need every single position.
Even at pick 30, they just kind of need talent, honestly. Obviously, everybody could use an athletic big man rim protector. They got that in John Collins, but he's a little smaller. He's kind of skinnier. I don't know if he can anchor a defense for the Hawks.
Right.
But they could really use perimeter shooting.
Okay.
And I know Dennis Schroeder wants to move on, so it'd be interesting to see if they move him at all on draft night, maybe package some of the picks for him. So I could see the Hawks doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe gathering more picks as well and just kind of trade around. I could see the Hawks move a lot in this draft. But with my pick with 30th pick, I'm having them taking the guy from Syracuse, Tyus Battle.
Yeah.
Oh, and we also forgot to mention we've got these fancy stickers.
We did. We made stickers.
And he decided...
Because I have a printer and an Office Depot nearby.
Do things you always need to make stickers. Mm-hmm. So Cody thankfully made me this on very bright pink paper.
Exactly.
So I've got pink and he's got lime green.
Lime green.
So we'll kind of put these picks on the board as we go so you can kind of keep up with us a little bit.
Exactly.
But... So I've got the pink ones. So
I'm
going to go ahead and put Tyus Battle on here. You got anything about Tyus Battle? I already put that crooked, so that was a good start.
That is a great start. So we've got one crooked name on the board. One crooked
with the
name.
left hand and without knocking.
Well, for the Hawks, I think it's a nice pick. Because they need everything. He's a good perimeter shooter. He's a good spot up shooter. Should say rather.
Okay.
So they could run him off screens and instantly get some offense, which is a pretty, get him some good shots, get him 1 or 2 screens and an offensive set. And then,
is there any kind of stat that stands out to you about him?
He did average 19.2 points per game in the ACC.
Okay.
I mean, the ACC is a pretty stiff competition.
Yeah. Usually a lot of draft picks and good NBA players come out.
Definitely overachieved in the tournament. I try not to get too overhyped on what people do in the March Madness tournament because it's just a crazy you can't
it's Loyola,
too,
Chicago going to
exactly it's too small of a sample size to really say that based on these 3 games I'm not taking the 3 game sample. I'm taking the full season, but over the course of the full season he averaged 19.2 points a game.
Yeah, I don't take too much in consideration of the NCAA either. Just because they were playing games that were in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were playing fantastic basketball. The only problem with Tyus Battle to me is on most of his shots, if you watch a little bit of film on him, is all of his jumpers are pretty contested.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get too many wide open shots. So that should hopefully help him in the NBA because he'll probably get more open looks.
Right.
But the other problem that's always had for Syracuse players is can they play man-to-man defense?
Correct.
And there hasn't really been a Syracuse guard that's stuck in the NBA and been productive that I can think of in recent memory besides Carmelo.
Right.
But he was more of a small forward, small ball 4. So I don't know. I mean, this is just kind of a shot in the dark for the Hawks because they need guys that can create their own shot and perimeter shooting. So this is kind of just a safe pick at 30. Who do you got?
My pick at 30 is a freshman guard from Kentucky.
Okay.
His name is Hamidou Diallo. I think that's how you say it. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think you're right on there.
But let me put my sticker up on the board. Let me see if I can get it straight or if we'll continue the weird pattern.
So halfway up the board, they'll be completely off.
Yes. Yeah. So
it'll look like we put
Yeah, Diallo's getting
Mo
taken
Wagner as a number 1 pick.
Diallo's getting taken by the Nets and the Hawks.
So for Diallo, for me, I mean, obviously he's just a freak athlete.
I think we all know who's better at putting stickers on a board.
I don't know. Yours wasn't that great either.
What do you mean it's not that great? That's perfectly straight across. It's in line with the Hawks. Like, it's so much better than... I mean, Tyus Battle looks like he's the top part of a alligator mouth. There should be a bottom part there trying to eat Hamadou.
It's a greater than sign because Tyus Battle is greater than him.
No, he is not.
Oh, okay. For me, Diallo is just like a super freak athlete.
Yeah, like he's got excellent.
haven't.
He's got great wingspan. Like he could,
Right.
like I think he's one of those people that you can plug in and can probably play defense because, like, there's not many people in the NBA. Like, there's not many people in the NBA that, like, if they are committed to learning to play defense better, that cannot become a good team defender.
Sure.
I was listening to an interview with Chris Wallace the other day, and he was actually talking about that like the guys that can handle it mentally, the league and coming in and getting better and stuff like that. Those guys, they always end up being good defenders because they can learn the system and they have, the athletic gifts to be able to defend their position as long as they're not like too undersized or something like that. And he's definitely not undersized to be a shooting guard. He's 6'6". He weighs 200 pounds, 197 pounds, but his wingspan is 6'11 and a half.
Okay.
So he's got a pretty solid wingspan there at 6'6". And his standing reach is 8 feet,
Really?
7 inches.
Good grief.
So he can just reach up and almost reach 9 feet in the air, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That guy's got long arms.
Yeah, I actually have him going a lot higher in my mock, which we'll see in a little while. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. To me, he's just kind of a potential selection.
Right.
Like he didn't do too great at Kentucky when he came back. He didn't really help himself.
Well, one of those things, the thing about playing at Kentucky too is like everybody is so good at Kentucky that like even
it's
these guys,
the guys who are like the franchise players kind of rise above.
Exactly.
But he didn't really do that. So that's why I'm kind of like,
but even guys that aren't like the franchise players are still good NBA players.
Sure. Yeah. They're solid rotation players. Cause I think the way he can kind of build himself in the NBA is to focus on being a perimeter defender.
Yeah, I think he could come into the league and be like Tony Allen.
Okay.
Like I think that could be like an early milestone for him is that he can come into the league and he can just be an elite defender.
Okay.
I think because of the athletic talents that he has, I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does that.
Cool. Well, I like those picks. Let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets, number 29.
Yes.
Do you want to pick first?
I will, if you would like me to.
Go ahead, since I picked first last time. That way I can line up my stickers next year.
The person that I have for the Nets might come as a shock to you.
DeAndre Ayton.
No, not at 29. Not at 29. That's a great pick at 29, but that's not who I have.
Okay.
I have them taking Moritz Wagner.
Oh, Mo
29.
Wagner?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I have Wagner a lot higher in my draft as well. I really like Wagner. Now I'm kind of probably falling trapped to the NCAA run, the way he played. He's like a perfect pick and pop 4. He probably can't be a center.
See, that I did a job on.
Yeah. Like, he's a pick and pop 4. But what I like about him is how competitive he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you are anything, if you've got that competitive fire, you've got a place in the league.
Exactly.
Because he's talking trash to anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, and he didn't back down.
Right.
Now, he's not athletic or big enough to play center at the NBA, and that's probably where teams will want him to play.
Right.
But I think he can be a decent kind of backup.
He can
pick and pop 4.
He can definitely stretch the 4 for you. I mean, his 3-point shooting percentage in the NBA or in the NCAA was 39.4%.
Right.
On 160 3-point attempts.
Okay.
So I mean, he made 40% of those.
I think he's got a little bit of goofy shooting mechanics too. That's why he was inconsistent from 3. So that'll get fixed when he gets with like a full-time trainer.
Well, his total effective field goal percentage is 60.5%. on 409 field goal attempts. He averaged almost 15 points per game this year, and per 40 minutes he averaged 21.2 points per game.
He's a guy who came back this year. He was probably going to try to go in the draft last year, but I think he was projected a second rounder undrafted. Came back, and I think it helped him a little bit. I think he's going to be. Most people still have him projected as like a late first, early second, but I think he's a solid first-round gamble for a team.
Yeah, he could be. He could. I mean, I think like he could possibly be like
I kind of think of like Jason Smith.
Like a Channing Frye,
Mo Spates.
Yeah,
I know that's probably not great comparisons.
That's not a great
but
comparison.
I mean, Mo Spates played for the Warriors and played big minutes for them. So there will always be a place in the league for a competitive pick and pop four that can shoot threes. So I think that's what he is. For my pick, I'm going completely different. I don't really like this player at all, but I think he tested well at the combine enough to where he'll get a first round selection.
Man, you are.
And that's the wildly inconsistent player from Duke, Grayson Allen.
You are a crazy person.
Yep, I have Grayson Allen going in the first round, which is probably insane. Now, here we go. You ready for this evenness?
It's not going to be even at all, man. Fuck you. What in the world? What is that?
Whatever. It's left hand. Give me a break. What are your thoughts about Grayson? How do you feel about Grayson? I know you kind of liked him a little bit at Duke, didn't you?
I mean, I kind of like the way he plays basketball. I don't necessarily like that he's in the NBA. I just don't know that he's like that. I don't think he's an NBA player.
I don't either. I actually think he's a third string player. I think his shot is kind of weird.
I think he belongs in the G League.
He'd probably be a G League player, but the Nets, they seem to be taking wing guys that can drive and kick and shoot threes. The 3-and-D type player. But he's more 3 and no D. So I don't know what he really gives a team, honestly. But he tested well at the combine, and people look at those numbers, and that can help move you up a little bit if you test athletically well. His shooting mechanics are kind of weird to me. He shoots in front of his face, and I never like that in a shooter because you can't see the rim. So if you ever watch him shoot, like he'll shoot and then he'll dip his head to the side so he can see if it's going in. Like to me, that's a shooting problem for a guard. That can be fixed easily, but he's been doing it whole life. I mean, people like Sean Marion, that's all they did was practice, and it was from the chest up.
Yeah.
But
the one thing that I do like about Grayson Allen, like the thing that that really like makes me think that the only thing that I think he has going for him in the NBA is like he just seems like a player with a motor.
Okay.
Like he's just one of those guys that like when he's one of those people that when he's on the court, like he gets the crowd into it, like he's a 50-50 ball guy. Like he just seems like he's the kind of guy that will make hustle plays, like and get on the floor and he'll scrap and do things that other people may not do. And I think he has that going for him.
He'll make a great G League All-Star.
He'll be he's the Matthew Dellavedova of this draft.
Really?
Yes.
Like you think he'll actually play?
No, I think he's a poor man's Matthew Dellavedova.
Oh,
but that's who he would remind. That's who he would remind me of.
Man, that is dark right there.
I'm sorry, Grayson. I apologize for that, but that's what I thought.
Okay, well, let's just move on to the Warriors then. I'll go first this time, I guess.
Okay.
That way, maybe I can keep doing this kind of like left-right tilted thing.
Yeah, sure. We can try to you can build your Jenga tower.
The Warriors, for me, the Warriors need a backup 3-and-D player or an actual stretch 4 or 5 because Looney just can't shoot. So, yeah, he's a good backup
Looney's
athletically.
making me money right now.
Well, yeah, he's made you money, but, I mean, he's not really helping the Warriors because he can't shoot.
Right.
So they could use an athletic guy. Like if Jordan Bell can get a shot, then that would be helpful. But they need a backup 3-and-D guy, a guy that's a hustle guy that can stand on the perimeter, catch and shoot, a guy that can go down and lock up a wing. Right. So I actually have them taking DiVincenzo from Villanova.
Okay, I like that. That guy can fill it up.
I think he's a perfect fit for the Warriors and what they do. Like, he's going to be a great backup, come in, kind of do what Sean Livingston does. Now, he's smaller.
He is.
But he's kind of compared.
6'4.5".
He's kind of compared body-wise to Gary Harris.
Okay.
I think Gary Harris might be a little bigger than him, and Gary Harris is definitely a better shooter. But DiVincenzo, I mean, has that hustle motor that you just can't teach. Like, he just goes after it. Like, he looked really good in the combine scrimmages. I don't know how much stock you actually put in those, but he looked like one of the best players there.
Right.
He was out hustling everybody, making great passes, getting offensive rebounds, hitting the catch and shoot threes. It's just what people are looking for. So he may have actually played himself a little higher, but I think his limited size is going to hurt him a little bit. But I think he's a perfect Warriors pick. I think he's perfect for them.
I do have an interesting fact about Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay.
He has an incredible nickname.
What's his nickname?
It is the Michael Jordan of Delaware. And that that is a real fact. That is not made up.
That.
Yes. That is a credit to the Ringers NBA draft guide. I'm looking at their
proof.
Ooh, look at this guy putting a freaking this guy finally found a level that he could use to put up his stickers.
Just ignore the first 15 minutes of this video. I've had vertigo.
Yeah,
so.
Apparently when he was painting earlier, so he probably just got high off the fumes
of it. Who's your Warriors pick?
My Warriors pick is a Euro guy, actually.
Oh, our first.
Yes, his name, and I really do not know if I'm saying this right, is Zanin Musa.
I think it's Zana.
Zanin? That would make sense.
I think it's Zana.
Zana? Well, he doesn't N. This is the last N.
Zaha? I don't know.
Okay.
We'll just say Musa.
Yeah, so
my boy Musa.
That's who I'm picking for them.
Okay.
And he's 6'9". I mean, he's like he can shoot. His effective field goal percentage was 54.9% last year.
I actually saw I watched some highlights on him just to see, and he was like a straight driver, pull up on transition 3 guy. And then I found out that MJ, the greatness himself, tried to recruit him to come to UNC last year, but he turned it down to stay
and make money instead of getting paid to play at instead of getting paid at North Carolina. Maybe this guy wasn't
as competitive
as it was in Cedevita.
So it might have been a situation like, wait, you're going to pay me $80,000, but I have to go to classes?
Exactly. So I think that this is a good friend for Zaza Pachulia.
Okay. I do like that pick for Warriors. I mean, we're thinking the same way.
Yeah, like I just think that like he's that guy that you can put in. He's got the size that the Warriors are looking for.
Right.
Although his wingspan he's got small arms, it seems.
Not T-Rex arms, I hope.
No, he does. Well, he's 6'9". His wingspan is 6'8.5", but his standing reach is 8 feet 9 inches.
So he doesn't have small arms.
He's a mystery, but he's only 19 years old.
Okay.
So I like that about him too. I like as I've been on the Jason Tatum bandwagon.
Yes.
For an entire year, I've been telling y'all.
You have been very correct. You've been on it early.
And I like guys that come into the league where you can say things like, he's only 19 whenever they do anything good. So I'd like to keep that going next year.
I'm going to start doing that about LeBron because they do that too. He's only 33.
Yeah, shut up with that. He's 33 years old. Like, that's the prime of a man's life. Like, he's not dead. He's in the best shape. Like he's like physically like he's impenetrable. He broke his leg last night in a game and just continued to play. And then he scored 12 straight points or whatever. It's ridiculous. LeBron is inhuman. Like, we should just pack up basketball. We should all go home. No one will ever be better than LeBron. He's so good. It's ridiculous.
All right, let's just move on to the Celtics before we go down a rabbit hole we'll never recover from. And let's move to the Boston Celtics, pick number 27. Do you want to make a pick, or do you want me to do what the team kind of needs a little bit?
No,
first?
you talk about what the team kind of needs a little bit.
Okay, I know a lot of these are going to be redundant, but the way the NBA is, they're all looking for the same pieces.
Exactly.
Like, no team is looking for a great isolation post player anymore.
Right.
Everyone's looking for a rim protector and a 3-and-D guy, or a fast guard, or an elite shooter. So most of these team needs are going to be pretty similar.
Yep.
But the Celtics, they could use a backup rim protector that isn't Aaron Baines,
right?
Because he looks absolutely lost on defense with that team. Like it's like he doesn't show up to practice, or he doesn't understand Brad's English.
Right.
I know he's Australian, so I think they speak English, so he shouldn't have a problem.
I don't know,
but they need a rim protector to kind of help out with Horford, because Horford does a lot of the work. And Horford's getting older, so who knows how long he'll be around.
Of backup plan for him.
But they also need a kind of backup 3-and-D guy. That's what they stockpile on usually. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of have a wealth of players that are 3-and-D players. Now, none of them are over the top great at anything, but they have the ability to step in and be the next man up, just kind of like Terry Rozier. I mean, they play that Nasir guy every once in a while. So I have the Celtics going the same route, but this is for a player who actually didn't play last year for USC because he was part of that scandal. And so he kind of missed a year, so it would have been his sophomore year, and everyone thought that he would have really helped his draft stock if he would have been able to play this year and show, because he does a little bit of everything. He kind of fills the stat sheet.
Right.
And that player is DeAnthony Melton from USC.
I like that player.
He's actually compared to Terry Rozier, but he's a little bit bigger than him.
Okay.
He's not a crazy athlete, but he's a good defender. USC played a lot of zone, though, so that kind of worries me a little bit.
Right.
So I don't know how good he is in open space. But he's shown flashes in video to where he can, excuse me, where he can actually bother somebody on a drive. But I don't think he's lightning quick, but it's right up the Celtics' alley on the type of player they're looking for.
Gotcha.
So he's not a great shooter or scorer either, and that's probably his problem. That's probably why Celtics will probably pass on, because he can't shoot at all. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they feel strongly enough about their development that they can take a guy who can't shoot and turn him into a shooter.
Right.
But he has everything else that they look for.
That's true.
And plays their style.
And I wouldn't say
a
that
smart
he can't
team
shoot.
player and rotate and switch and all
Hold
that.
on. I'm looking at the wrong person.
You got some stats on him?
Yeah, he can't shoot. I mean, not that he can't shoot, but he's not great. His effective field goal percentage is 48.3%. He averaged, I mean, I don't know what these averages are from. Oh, his freshman year, he averaged 8.3 points per game, 4.7 rebounds a game, 3.5 assists, 1.9 steals. I mean, he's a pretty good player, like all around. That was freshman year stats. So, he's not a great free throw shooter. He's not a great 3-point shooter. But those are things that could be improved upon, and that's stuff that I think usually improves once you get in the NBA.
Okay. Because you get to work on it all the time.
Exactly. My pick for the Celtics, and kind of going that 3-and-D route that you were talking about, is Jacob Evans from Cincinnati.
Old Cincy, the Bearcat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's 37% 3-point shooter on 162 3-point shot attempts. He's 6'5.5", so he's a little bit bigger than Melton. And he may not even be on the board at this point. This is just, how I kind of see everything going.
Sure.
But he's a good defender. He's got the energy. He can shoot, so he's exactly what the Celtics look for.
Okay.
And in a player. Like, he's basically Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart and those guys. He kind of fits in kind of that mold.
Okay.
But
like an athletic, gritty guy.
He's just an athletic, gritty defender who can also shoot, who happens to be able to shoot.
Because what I noticed about Jacob is I think he's kind of hit his ceiling a little bit. I don't think he's going to be much more as a player than what he is right now.
Okay.
But I like that pick for the Celtics because that's exactly what they look for.
Right.
I actually have him going higher in my mock.
Okay.
which is, now that I kind of look at him, I'm kind of surprised at after I've watched and evaluated. He's probably who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see a lot of talent growth possible, but I think he could be, a solid bench guy.
Okay.
I don't project him to ever be a starter, but
Right.
What about the 76ers?
The 76ers? Oh, I got a pick for the 76ers. And we just talked about him. His name is DeAnthony Melton.
Okay.
That's who I have picked for the Sixers.
Okay. 76ers, what they could use, I would actually think for the 76ers they would start looking at backup big men because Amir Johnson's getting older, probably not going to last too much longer.
Yeah.
And if this is the team that is planning to trade for Kawhi, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then they're probably going to lose Saric.
Yep.
So they're going to need some backup big men help.
Exactly. So that's why I decided that they should draft another guard that can't shoot.
Well, I'm also not done with what they need. They also need a defensive wing, which is exactly what DeAnthony Melton is. Mm-hmm. So you're right in there with what they could use for sure. They could use any kind of wing player, but I think they want to plan. They should, anyways, plan for what if this doesn't work out with Embiid. What if he has an injury that's sustained over a long period of time next year?
Yeah, possibly.
We're going to need some talent backup. That's not Amir Johnson.
Just trade for Dwight Howard.
Ideally, they probably need a stretch 4 or 5. But I actually had the 76ers going the guard route as well. And I have them picking a guy who had just a light on fire NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy that can just sit on the perimeter, catch and shoot. He doesn't really do much else. But that guy is Malik Newman from Kansas.
Okay.
And that's really all he does is just catch and shoot. I don't see him being much of a creator or going out and getting his own shot. But I kind of consider him to be just like a microwave shooter, which is someone they could use. They run J.J. Redick off screens all the time. It would never hurt to have a guy that can just sit there and catch and shoot. But he's probably a little small to play meaningful minutes for them, especially in the playoffs. But I think he's a good talent option here just for his skill set.
Yeah, and I think if he's he's a good shooter, and I think that if he comes in the league, especially like if the 76ers keep J.J. Redick, that he could possibly be taken under the wing of one of the great shooters.
Okay. And we're back to normal.
Get out of here.
I had 2 really solid
Those are
ones.
terrible. And you try to talk crap about the one more Mo Wagner one that's like 12 degrees askew, and we got you. You're almost putting 90-degree stickers up here. My man's trying to put them straight up.
Well, let's move on to the Lakers pick, since I'm going to redeem myself here with my sticker ability.
No, you're not.
Lakers need a rim protector. They need bench players. They could use a bigger wing defender.
Right.
I feel like they're a little too small. Now, I know they're probably going to be looking to be the run and gun up and down style. Mm-hmm. And I know that's everyone's favorite destination for LeBron, where everybody thinks he's going. So I actually have them going for a big man here, an athletic big man. I'm actually having them take a guy who it's kind of rumored that they promised to select this guy.
Okay.
And this is a guy who's one of the top 3 rated centers last year in the DeAndre Ayton and Mo Bamba class. He was rated right behind them, 11th in the country. And that's Mitchell Robinson.
He has no stats because he is in high school.
He just played a high school ball, graduated. He had kind of a weird situation where his godfather was an assistant coach at Western Kentucky. And so that's why he went there, but then he was there maybe a couple weeks and just packed up and left and didn't tell anybody. So apparently word on the street is that he's been just working out on his own in like Texas or Louisiana. He's from Louisiana.
Okay.
He's just been working out there.
I thought maybe he just graduated high school and was 20 years old.
No.
I was really confused.
Is he older?
By it. He's 20 years old.
Really? Yeah, he must have been an older senior. But he hasn't played any basketball since his senior year in high school. He didn't play basketball, organized basketball for a year, but he had the talent to be ranked as a top 3 center. Mm-hmm. So who knows where he would be on this prospect list if he would have actually stayed and played at Western Kentucky. So it's a good value pick for the Lakers here, I think. Mm-hmm. You've got nothing to lose. You need an athletic center. Might as well take a guy who was a top recruit. So I don't know. There's a high ceiling apparently, but there's kind of issues they think with his attitude.
Right.
He's been compared to Hassan Whiteside, body and attitude-wise. I actually think he's a lot skinnier and weaker than Hassan.
So you got a weaker Hassan Whiteside.
Basically. So, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's worth it this late in draft just to take talent.
Yeah.
And this guy was a top 3 center last year, so you might as well just take the talent. So, I've got them taking Mitchell Robinson here.
Okay.
What about you?
Well,
your beloved Lakers.
My beloved Lakers of old. I have the Lakers taking someone that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense because they just took probably a better version of this person last year.
Okay.
But
who is that?
Jalen Brunson.
Oh, okay. I like that pick. A little surprised. That's going pretty high for Jalen in this draft.
Yeah, it is. But I think that I just think that he has playmaker. He's a playmaker. He has leadership ability. Like he's been in college for 3 years. Like he's kind of like he's already like a man, and not like he's an adult is what I mean. Like he's not coming into the
not a little toddler boy.
He's not coming into the league as like an 18, 19-year-old kid. Who's
trying to figure it out.
Right.
Like he knows how to play.
Yeah, he knows how to play basketball. He shot 60%. He shot 60% effective field goal percentage is 60%. He shot 40% from 3-point. He's an 80% free throw shooter. He averaged 4.6 assists last year. I mean, he's kind of undersized. He's not even 6'3". He's 6'2" and a quarter. But he's still he can pass. He can pass. He can shoot, and he can run. Obviously, he can play within a system because Jay Wright runs a system and he plays within it.
That's kind of what I have on. He's a crafty lefty guard. He's going to be undersized, and he's going to have to improve his outside shooting. To me,
he's just the kind of person,
but he's
that LeBron James would love to play with,
like Shabazz Napier, light.
Mm-hmm. I think Jalen Brunson's better than Shabazz Napier, but yes,
I'm not sure if Jalen Brunson is fast enough to really stick in the NBA, but I think he can be a solid bench player. But he also has great footwork, and you know how I like guys with footwork. Mm-hmm. If you're a guard that has great footwork,
Ryan loves feet.
You can. Then you can stick or you can get your own shot almost any time because you just got great footwork and can move around and know how to get by guys, even if you're not just this lightning quick athlete. Mm-hmm. So I like that pick, Jalen Brunson, right there.
Yep.
All right. How about number 24, the Portland Trail Blazers?
Number 24, I'm picking a player that you have already mentioned.
Okay.
But I think that the Trailblazers are going to be losing some scoring this year.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to have to trade C.J. McCollum or Dame, and I think they're going to trade C.J.
Why would they have to do that?
Because I think that they're going to have to do something to
They're going to have to choose.
Yeah, I think they're just going to have to choose between them.
Okay.
And so for that reason,
right?
And not really for that reason, I just picked this guy here because I felt good about it. Okay. But it's Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay.
The Portland Trailblazers. I think he can help them out,
Okay.
With just coming in and scoring when those guys have to come out of the game or whatever, or if there's one of them not there. I think he comes in. I think he can help them off the bench.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I have the Trailblazers needing a rim protector and another stretch five, but I think they like Zach Collins, and there's no way I'm going to fit my label up there.
I was just looking at that. I was thinking that we should have done the labels a little further over. We really
I'm just
going to
go ahead and put mine on the right of yours.
Trailblazers and Timberwolves are going to be rough.
Like I was saying, I think they like Zach Collins a lot, and they're going to stick with him, and hopefully he develops into a stretch five.
Right.
that can rim roll and shoot the three, because he actually showed out a little bit in the playoffs. Now, I mean, he got absolutely demolished by Anthony Davis, but who doesn't? And he was a rookie, and I thought he played well. So I think I think they like Zach Collins, and they're going to keep working with him.
Right.
So I think they're actually going to go wing, because I could see them doing a trade too.
Yeah.
And there's just so much you can expect out of Evan Turner.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have them taking a guy that's kind of compared to Evan Turner a little bit.
Okay.
And to me, he's kind of like their new Alan Crabb, which got away from him to the Nets, just a kind of microwave shooter on the perimeter guy. And that's Gary Trent Jr.
Right.
from Duke.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't really have Gary Trent this high.
No, a lot of people don't.
They mostly have him in the second round, but I actually think he's a good player. I think he was kind of hidden a little bit at Duke with their playing style.
Yeah.
I don't think Coach K really knew what to do with him.
Well, he averaged 15 points.
Yeah.
He averaged 14.5 points per game.
Yeah, he averaged 15 points, and he wasn't the focal. He still went out and got his buckets because he's just he's a good shooter. I project him to be a really good shooter.
He shot 40% from three on 241 attempts.
I actually have him as kind of one of my sleeper guys. I don't know how he is on defense because Duke played mainly zone.
Right.
And that's kind of the question mark for most of the Duke players in this draft.
I like that pick. That's good.
I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a 8 to 10 year vet. Kind of has a niche of being a catch and shoot stretch three guy. So I'm going to go with, where's he on my board here? I don't see him. There he is. Next one up, Gary Trent Jr. Sorry. Would you stick that on the right of that, sir? For you. Just had to keep in the spirit of it.
Exactly. You asked me to put it up there for you. I wasn't going to put it up there. I wanted people to know whose it was. I didn't want any questions.
That's true. So the people at home are confused. I'm the pink. I'm in the pink.
Yep.
And Cody's in the green. So next pick, Pacers. I'll do a little bit about what the Pacers need. They kind of need a lockdown perimeter defender. To me, that's what kind of killed them in the playoffs is they didn't have enough playmaking and a guy that could guard a LeBron or a solid wing player.
Right.
So I actually have them taking a player from Oregon.
Okay.
And this guy, a lot of people think that he could be like a big sleeper in this draft. And he's actually compared more to Evan Turner. I don't think he's an explosive athlete, but that's Troy Brown from Oregon.
Okay.
He's a great creator, dribble drive guy, but he's not a good shooter at all.
Right.
So that's the thing he's going to have to develop to stick in the league.
He's
but
like
he
Chris
is,
Middleton.
I mean, he's like he could be a Chris Middleton type if he develops that shot. But he's an excellent playmaker, good decision maker. And the Pacers could just add that into their arsenal of driving and slashing and kicking guards.
Right.
So to me, he's a perfect fit anyways, for the Pacers. And just kind of hope he develops that shot. As you kind of do with all draft picks, just hope they develop something consistent.
Right.
So they can actually stay on the floor. But he's probably more of a bench guy, maybe into the bench. He might not even play a minute in the NBA, but I think he's got the potential, playmaking-wise, to actually play rotation minutes for them.
Okay.
And would be a good fit.
I like it.
So who you got for the Pacers?
For me, for the Pacers, I have a guy who he's a guard, but he's a good defender.
Okay.
And I think that Josh Okogie.
Okay.
Wow.
From Georgia Tech?
From Georgia Tech, yes. I think that he could come in and help them. He averaged 18.2 points a game. He does need to work on his shooting.
Sure.
To really be a good scorer. He needs to work on his jump shot.
And unfortunately for him, he's been coached by Josh Pastner for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. So
maybe having real development will help him in the NBA.
Right, and he's a good size. Like he's 6'4.5", so he's not even 6'5".
Right.
And his wingspan is 7 feet tall. So he's one of those guys that I think has an excellent, chance of being a good defender. He can defend different positions versatilely.
Okay.
Which in the current NBA, like if you look at what, the most successful teams are doing, like you look at what the Celtics are doing this year, how they're overachieving, and it's basically the way their roster's set up. To have a bunch of guys who can all play defense. They can switch onto multiple positions when they get put in those situations. It's not as big a deal when they get switched onto when Jaylen Brown gets switched onto a guard, who cares?
Right.
When Marcus Smart gets switched onto the small forward, who cares?
Right.
They're all interchangeable, and I think that
he gives them that
seeing
option.
what the Pacers needed this year, I think that adding that extra defensive wrinkle and that other person to their defense, like if they can have him on the court, I think, and if he can contribute defensively, I think he can really make a difference for them in the playoff series.
Yeah, the only thing I can say about Okogie that, to me, his best comparison that I don't really need to say more about is he's basically Norman Powell from the Raptors. Like, that's the way I describe him. He's just kind of like a bench energy guy. So I'll be kind of interested to see everyone. He kind of shot up everybody draft sport after the combine. So we'll see if he actually has the ability to stick around to warrant that going as high as he is.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move to the Bulls, number
Yes.
22. Who you got for the Bulls?
This guy I'm a little higher on this guy, and I have been all year.
Okay.
Than most people are, but I have the one, the only, Javon Carter.
Oh, you just love Javon
I
Carter so
love
much you
Javon
could not
Carter.
allow him to fall out of the first round.
He can't fall out of the first round. Javon Carter's the best player in the draft, guys. I don't know what everybody's being crazy.
The only thing I can say about Javon is, like, we could always use another Patrick Beverly in the league, right? Or is one too many? Or is one too many?
No.
Is two a crowd?
Two is not a crowd.
Javon Carter, his career arc is if he turns into Patrick Beverly. Like, he's going to have to be that type of guy. Like, he's going to have to focus on being the scrappy point guard and just hit a occasional open three. Like, that's going to be his role.
Be Derek Fisher.
It could be Derek Fisher.
That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. How many rings does Derek Fisher have?
5.
And you would know because you watched all of them.
I watched all of them.
Yeah, the Bulls, it's kind of interesting.
And Matt Barnes' wife.
How many times?
I don't know. That I don't know. But
I
I know.
thought you were going to say 5 again.
No, 5. But I know he was the champion. But Javon Carter is who I'm taking here. I think that his instant defense, like the Bulls are another team that just need like anything.
They need talent, yeah.
And I think Javon Carter as a backup to Zach LaVine is a pretty solid. I think that could be pretty solid for them because you don't lose, you get some defense off the bench.
Yeah, I actually have the Bulls needing a rim protector because who knows how long Robin Lopez is going to last in that system.
Right.
Because I think they're looking for more stretch 4s and 5s and athletes. And Robin Lopez doesn't really give you that. He gives you rim protection, but I think they're ideally looking for someone that can step out, shoot the three as a big man, as well as protect the rim. But I also think they need a lot of perimeter help, mostly shooting.
Right.
But I think they'll actually go for a guy that's going to be a defensive specialist who I think could be this Tony Allen.
Who would you think that could be?
And that's Kyrie Thomas from Creighton Blue Jays.
Interesting.
So that's what he's projected to be. He's not really a great shooter. Hopefully he'll be just a spot-up guy. But his career is going to be made from defense. Mm-hmm. So if he can be Andre Roberson type, and obviously there's a place in the league for those guys for some reason.
Oh, definitely.
So you could argue to say that the Thunder lost the first round against the Jazz because they didn't have Roberson to lock down Donovan Mitchell. So I think the Bulls could use a specialist guy like that. So I have them taking Kyrie Thomas with that number 22 pick.
Okay.
So let me throw this up here real quick. For the Jazz, the surprise of the playoffs,
Right.
I think they need a stretch four,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they could also use a wing kind of creator and slasher.
Right.
Because a lot of them just kind of stand around and wait for Donovan Mitchell to do something or pass to him.
Right.
I'm not even going to worry
That's not
about
even
it.
on the whole. The whole sticker isn't even on this.
I'm not even going to worry. Not even going to worry about it anymore. So I think they need a creator / bigger wing shooter. Where are you going? Are you upset?
I'm so upset about the way that you put that on there.
I'm sorry.
so bad.
It's left hand. I'm leaning over.
I'm
Right.
trying to look like a professional over here, and then we have amateur hour Ryan putting stickers up like they're all cattywampus. I don't know that I like the cut of his jib.
So, so I think they could use more offensive versatility.
Right.
So I think they go for a bigger small forward.
Okay.
And I think they go for a guy who actually, it's rumored that he's been promised to be picked by a team in the 20s.
Okay.
So I think that I hope it's this Jazz team because I think he's the kind of player they need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Chandler Hutchison from
Okay.
Boise State.
I like it.
Big, small forward guard,
Mm-hmm.
strong finisher around
Yep.
the basket.
Good defender.
Ideal catch and shoot, solid defender. This is a guy that just worked on his game a lot because he's obviously a senior, been there 4 years. He's going to be one of the older guys in this draft.
Right.
But there's still value in those guys because of they're a proven player.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he went from averaging 3 points a game as a freshman to averaging 20 as a senior. So he's obviously
he actually
put the
averaged
work
20
in.
points exactly.
Yeah, like he's put the work in. So I think he's a good fit for the Jazz. He's a solid player already.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to add to that because they take solid players. They don't take potential flyers. Like
Right.
They know what they want. So I think they're actually promising him to take him at 21. That's why it hadn't really worked out for anybody or we heard from him since. So I think the Jazz take Chandler Hutchison here. What about you? You think they draft Donovan Mitchell again?
Yes,
They try to clone him?
I do.
In
I think they
Germany?
draft a backup Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. And who would that be?
Aaron Holiday.
Oh,
The last
a lot smaller version of him.
Mm-hmm. But I think that this he's a scoring guard. He can come in and he can kind of help. He's an instant offense guy. He'd be like
Right.
your J.R. Smith or your, he's a heat check guy. So you have him come in when Donovan Mitchell comes out and this guy comes in. He just jacks up shots and gets a couple buckets and gets the offense going.
I watched
Gets the crowd
one
in.
highlight tape where he had like 30 something in the first half
Exactly.
against a decent team. I think like San Diego State
Yeah.
is known for their defense, so he can light it up.
He's
I
not
really liked it.
he's not super fast.
Oh, I'm talking
or
about my
anything.
Chandler guy. Sorry, I'm not
No.
talking about your guy.
No, okay.
Sorry, I'm back here talking about my guy again. I'm just in
No,
love
I
with
think
him.
I think that Aaron Holiday will be good. He can shoot threes any way that you want him to shoot them.
I mean, he comes from a great family line,
Yeah, exactly.
kind of a proven NBA family line.
Exactly.
I think he's a little small to me to be a full-time starting point guard.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be a starter, but I think he could be an excellent backup. Like I think he comes in. Like I think if he's your backup point guard, like you have him come in to rest somebody, and your offense doesn't really suffer because he's instant offense.
And he kind of reminds me a little bit of that guard that was at Kentucky a few years ago that should have never left early. I cannot think of that guy's name for the life of me, but he was drafted by the Bulls, and he just kind of never made it in the league. No, not Valentine. He didn't play for... No, he didn't play... None of these people played for Kentucky. I cannot... No, he's a point guard. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. No. Now, Aaron
John
Holiday,
Wall?
Aaron Holiday is described as an Eric Bledsoe type.
Mhm.
So I don't think he's a great decision maker, but I'm okay with the Jazz taking this because Dante Exum isn't working out. Like
Right.
it's probably time to move on.
Yeah.
I know Exum is still really young.
He is, and
Probably
he's had a lot of
only-
injury.
Probably only a year older, or maybe the same age as Aaron Holiday.
Could be.
But it's time to move on. He just
is.
doesn't give anything for me.
So that's 10 picks down. We only have 6 left
Yep.
in the first half.
So let's move right into the Timberwolves.
Let's.
Who do you got Timberwolves taking?
Timberwolves. I have the Timberwolves taking my guy, Zaire Smith.
Okay.
Get a small forward because they don't really use. I think they're about done with Andrew Wiggins.
Think they'll move on him?
I
mean, it's going to be hard to move him. He just signed that super deal.
Yeah, I know, but I think that
He's getting paid like $40 million a year. It's going to be hard to move
it
that.
will be, but I think that there's somebody who they'll have to. It'll be the trade will have to be like Andrew Wiggins and a contract or something. But I think that Zaire Smith they could take, who can come in and play defense.
Okay,
and that's kind of the identity of that team anyway.
Okay.
Karl Anthony Towns carries a lot of the scoring load for that team. As well as Jimmy Butler. Like, those guys do a lot of the offensive stuff. And I think that, Tibbs is a defensive-minded coach. So I think he's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, he tested smaller than what we thought he would be, but he's a super athlete. So the teams will draft a guy just because he's athletic and see if he can develop.
Exactly.
I think, honestly, he probably should have went back to school because next year's draft is supposed to be even weaker.
Right.
So he could have really boosted, I think, his stock by going back to school. But he's a great fit for the Timberwolves because I actually have the Timberwolves needing solid bench perimeter players. And they could also use another power forward. That's a solid, shooting power forward. Because Dang just ain't doing it for them.
No. Well, Luol Deng is like everyone. It's
not Luol Deng.
Oh, what?
It's not Luol Deng. I can't remember his name. He played at Louisville. I don't know. I can't remember his name.
What are we talking about?
The backup power forward.
Are we talking about basketball?
Yeah, we're talking about basketball.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Well, I have the Wolves needing bench players because that's who they wouldn't play. So they need solid bench players. I actually have them taking a player that you called a little earlier, and that's Josh Okogie.
Uh-huh.
So we don't need to spend a lot of time on Josh. We already talked about him a little bit. But I think, we're right in the same line on the type of player they need.
Right.
So I'm going to have them taking Josh Okogie here. Now, number 19.
Number 19.
Second of the third. Not near as exciting as their last pick in the first round.
Well, we've already talked about this player.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to change a pick, I think.
Uh-oh.
Because at number 19, I have the Hawks taking Jacob Evans.
Yeah, Jacob Evans going twice in this draft?
He's so good that the Celtics are going to take him, and the Hawks are also going to take him. So a little bit later, I will correct that, and I'll change that. But I think I'm going to keep Jacob Evans at the Hawks.
You can't do that.
No, I'm keeping him at the Hawks is where I originally picked him at. We decided to do it backwards later.
Okay.
I couldn't reveal that I'd picked. So the Celtics is Mitchell Robinson.
You have them at the Lakers, don't you?
No, you do.
Oh, you have them Jalen Brunson. Okay. Well, that's fair. All right, fine. Now that it's straight for everybody at home.
Yeah. Well, we'll correct it eventually. But when I made these labels, I guess I accidentally printed those twice. So, but I really wanted him to go to the Hawks and not the Celtics, but I didn't want to give the gag away too soon because I didn't feel like reprinting one label and using a whole sheet of labels for it.
You're welcome for the level of effort that we put into this.
We have never worked more tirelessly on anything, and this is the quality of work that you got. So,
I actually have the Hawks taking a guy that you have the Nets taking.
Who do I have the Nets taking?
You have
Grayson
them
Allen?
taking Mo Wagner.
Oh,
I think the Hawks could use a stretch four.
They probably could.
And a guy that just can work. You might as well just take a flyer on a guy that can shoot because they could always use it.
They can use
So I have them
anything.
taking Mo Wagner.
Very nice.
All right, let's get to one of the more interesting picks in the draft, at least for me anyways, and a team that's in a very interesting scenario, and that's the San Antonio Spurs.
Who you got going there?
I have them going with, I think they need perimeter shooting, more of it anyways. I think they need an athlete, and I think they could use, an athletic big man that can protect the rim.
Yeah.
I actually have them taking a flyer on just some talent and speed and athleticism because I think they desperately need that on their wing. They're just devoid of athleticism and speed, and especially if they're going to get rid of Kawhi or if they're going to try to keep him, that obviously helps. But I think they could use this guy alongside of him, and that's Hamidou Diallo.
Okay, I like that pick.
So I think they take Hamidou here and just take a flyer on the athleticism, the defensive potential, and just kind of see if it works out.
Okay.
How do you feel about the Spurs position? Do you think they...
I feel like that's a smart pick because that's kind of like the kind of thing they need. That's what they lose if they do lose Kawhi. I don't necessarily think that they do lose Kawhi. I heard something the other day that Kawhi wants to be there.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too, that he had told people that he
I don't.
wanted to
So
stay.
I don't know. That's what makes all this just like we're just throwing darts at a board here.
Sure.
And that's what everyone that ever tries to tell you what's going to happen in the NBA draft is doing, regardless of what they tell you.
Sure.
But my pick for the Spurs follows the same logic as your pick.
Okay.
But it's a little bit different in the positioning.
Sure.
I have the Spurs taking my guy, KBD, K to Big Dick. I'm just joking. That's not his real name.
That's his nighttime name.
That's his nighttime name. His name is Keita Bates Diop.
Okay.
And that's who
Interesting.
That's who I have picked.
You might as well have the poor man's LaMarcus Aldridge if you can get him, right? I actually like that pick for the Spurs. I mean, he's not a super athlete.
No, but I think
that
he has
like a pick and roll pop.
Yeah, and I think he has the mentality, like the mindset that the Spurs kind of look for. Like I think I think he would be like a good locker room presence. Like he seems to have his head on his shoulders. Like he can space the floor, he can defend multiple positions. He's like a modern NBA player.
Okay.
He's almost 6'9". His wingspan is 7'3". Like he weighs 220 pounds. Like he can guard multiple positions. He's a big guy, and so I think that's
okay. I like that pick there. I actually have him going a little higher, and most people's mocks they have him going later in the draft. But I think just that kind of void of shooting in this draft helps him.
Yeah,
and everyone can use a stretch four.
Yep.
So
he's a small forward, but
yeah, but I think he'll probably be want to played at the four because he's not athletic enough to play small forward in NBA.
Probably.
But I think that's a good pickup for the Spurs. How about the Bucks? You ready for this pick?
I am ready for this pick.
The Bucks, I mean, they need perimeter shooting. They just need something else besides Chris Middleton. Eric Bledsoe's not giving them anything. What's the cannot think of his name. I'm really blowing it on names right now. No, on the other Thon Maker, Tony Snell. These guys just aren't helping them. No. So they really need a perimeter shooter. But knowing the Bucks, they're going to go complete opposite of what they need and try to stack.
They'll probably get another power forward or another small forward.
Well, they've got a new coach now, Budenholzer from the Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the style that he plays, he's going to go after kind of a backup guy and get more aggressive on defense again.
Right.
So he's going to start doing more of that trapping, rushing to kind of get Giannis in open court more. So I think they're going to switch complete gears here because they have the athleticism. They need a little bit bigger guard, backup guard, to kind of keep going with the defense rotation and the peskiness.
Right.
I actually have them taking Shea Gilgeous-Alexander here.
Okay. I like it.
Shea Gilgeous, he's not a shooter. Everyone describes him to Sean Livingston. But to me, he's more of an Elfrid Payton.
Okay.
Which is just a bigger guard that's semi-athletic, long arms, can create and pass, but cannot shoot worth a lick.
Right.
So just be interested to see if he can develop a shot. But to me, that's the kind of person that Budenholzer is going to look for. If they keep this pick, they might trade it.
Right.
But if they keep this pick, I feel like they go for the more size, athleticism, wing versatility here.
I gotcha.
So I have them going with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I like it. For my pick, I went the defensive route as well. But this guy can shoot jump shots.
Okay.
So because I think what the Bucks need is they need somebody who can play defense, but they also need somebody who can shoot threes in transition.
Sure.
So I think with this pick, and this guy has the coolest name of anyone in the draft.
Hit me with it.
Shake Milton. Like his name is Shake. Like that's perfect.
That is a great name. Shake Milton's probably his ceiling is he's going to have to turn into a 3-point shooter, catch and shoot. He's got like one of the longest wingspans for a guard
7
in
foot
this draft,
and 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, so he's got a huge wingspan, which is perfect for perimeter defense, and that's like you said, what the Bucks are looking for. I don't think he's much of a creator.
No, he's not, but he's improved each season on spot-up threes since he got to college. So I think that it's one of those things where if he's a guy that can help you play defense and he can also get in there and he can run the floor, he's an athlete, so he can play defense, he can run the floor, and he can spot up for shots. Like that's what you're looking for.
Okay,
he can be a corner 3 guy. He can be your Andre Iguodala in your offense.
I don't know if anybody has Shake Milton going in the first round in their draft mock, but that's what I like about your pick is because no one really knows. This could be completely. I don't have any Euro picks in my draft,
right?
And this could be the kind of draft where like 10 of them are selected and just stashed overseas. Yeah. So this could be completely off. You just don't know about the draft. Some teams just might like a guy and take him.
Exactly.
Like the Celtics with Terry Rozier. Like they just took him. Like he was projected second round and they just took him like 17th or whatever.
So hey, we got Shake at
I like
17.
That. I like that. Let's move on
Guard
to the
from
Suns.
SMU.
Move on to the Suns.
All right. Who do you have the Suns taking here?
Well, first I have the Suns for kind of their team needs. They need everything, obviously. They're kind of set on the shooting guard with Devin Booker.
I would think so.
And I really, really like Josh Jackson. I think he's going to develop to be a great small forward in this league. Athletic, kind of pesky defender. And he's going to develop a shot, I think.
He will.
I actually have their biggest needs as a big man that can actually score and a solid point guard, which is what the two picks are in this draft.
Okay.
DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic.
True story.
So I believe that whichever way the Suns pick at 1 will affect their pick at 16. So if they go for Doncic at 1, I think they're going to take a big man at 17 or 16. I'm sorry. But for me, this will kind of clue into what my top pick will be for the Suns. I actually have them taking Zaire Smith here.
Okay.
As just another athletic guy, wing, pesky defender. So that's who I have taken, which kind of tips my hand a little bit, who I think might be the top pick or may not. Ooh. But I have the Suns taking Zaire Smith because they just need backup athletic players that can play defense. That's what they need to improve on.
Right.
So might as well take the talent at 16. So who you got the Suns taking?
I have the Suns taking. Where did this go? Troy Brown Jr.
Oh, you've got Troy Brown going a lot higher than I did. I had him at 23.
Yeah, so I've got Troy Brown going here. I think that the fact that he can, he's a good creator and he can play defense is good. Because he's not. I don't think he's going to start in his first year with the Suns anyway.
Sure.
So I think that as a backup to Booker, and maybe you can play them both at the same time even.
I really like that pick, actually, because of his creative ability on that. For sure. So, for the last pick of the first session of our mock draft, we have the Washington Wizards. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. We've talked about, I think. No, we haven't. I thought you already had them up there. So, for my pick for the Washington Wizards, I have the Wizards taking Robert Williams from Texas A&M.
Okay.
That's a big.
I think that's a good pick for them. I just don't think he'll last. I don't think he'll be there.
I think he's a super athlete. Like I kind of think of him as like a DeAndre Jordan, Quint Capella type person who can play defense but can also just like run the floor, and he's just a freak athlete.
Rim roll, dive to the lane.
So they're going to set picks for him, and he's going to run off screens, and they're just going to toss the ball up to him, and he's just going to dunk it.
Sure.
So that's why I think that he would fit in well with the Wizards. They have a great point guard with John Wall, so I think that the two of them together can really be good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's a great pick for the Wizards. I just don't think he'll still be there. I actually have the Wizards going with another stretch guy that can actually shoot it, and that's Keita Bates-Diop.
Oh, KBD.
So I got Keita Bates-Diop going there. But you'll probably see Robert Williams very soon in my draft mock.
Probably.
So that rounds it out for 15 through 30.
It does. That's it.
How do you feel so far?
I feel good. I knew that I would.
So that's the first episode we have of our mock draft.
Yep.
We'll be back soon with the lottery selections.
We will.
So stay tuned so you can get, maybe there might be some surprises.
Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe we'll talk about some trades.
Maybe.
We hope you stick around. And maybe we'll introduce a little bit of a gambling element we have going with this.
Ooh, maybe.
So that wraps it up for episode 1 of the mock draft 15 through 30 for us at Free Basketball. You want to say anything before we go?
No, I don't, actually. I'm going to keep it professional this time.
Oh, wow.
So,
look at us.
That was a surprise for all of you watching at home.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back here shortly.
Yep, we'll be back with another episode.